Dear learners of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, warm greetings to all of you. In this session of today, we are going to learn about personal selling and sales promotion as a part of your program on marketing management. Personal selling and sales promotion is an essential part of promotion mix. Usually what happens is when we talk about marketing, we talk about the 4 P's, which is product, price, place and promotion. So as a part of promotion, we talk about the various elements which are there where the company attempts to sell the product to the consumers. To attract the consumers, there are various ways of doing so. Personal selling and sales promotion are one of the 2 methods which are involved in this particular process. To begin with, let us first understand what is marketing communication. Marketing communication basically talks about a marketing plan which helps the target audiences to understand what the product is all about, what are the benefits, why should they be buying the product, what are the features of the product, what kind of utility the product gives, and who is the company, what does the company do. All the information which is related to the consumer which helps him to make the buying decision is nothing but the marketing communication. As we have a mix related to marketing that is called as 4 P's, that is product, price, place and promotion. Promotion also has got a mixture to it, where we talk about the various ingredients which make up this process of promotion. Under the promotion mix, we have essentially 5 elements which are there: advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, public relations and publicity, and direct marketing. In today's session, we will be focusing only on 2, which is personal selling and sales promotion. So let us see what is personal selling. The very word personal selling comprises of 2 words, personal and selling. So let us understand what is selling all about. The word selling is actually derived from the word sell, which has come from a Norwegian word called selge, which means to serve. So when the companies are trying to sell their products, they are actually serving the consumer to satisfy their needs and wants. So therefore, the company actually searches for the prospective customers and they understand the needs of the customer and make the products that will fulfill those needs. And people as consumers, we invariably want to buy what actually we want rather than what actually we need. Some of the needs that we have are actually fulfilled by few products, but most of the products that we own today are actually not what are needed, but what are wanted by us. So therefore, in the process of this fulfillment of need and want, the company produces and sells the product. So therefore, they are serving the customers in the market, whoever is the target market which is there. Coming to the word personal selling, we are talking about the process of communicating with the potential buyers or the actual buyers, wherein the product is being sold on face-to-face, where the customer and the salesperson are engaged in a face-to-face interaction in the process of selling the product. So therefore, it is one of the elements in the company's promotion mix, along with the other elements which are there, that is advertising, sales promotion, publicity, public relations and direct marketing. So personal selling is not something which is of recent origin. It has been in the literature of marketing since many years. In fact, since the time that companies are being born and they have started to sell, the concept of personal selling has been there. So if we look back to certain eras, we talk about, people who have been selling using carts or using even bicycles and tricycles, where you talk about peddlers. They would pedal on their cycle and they would go door to door and they will sell the product as an intermediary. They are a link between the company and between the customer. Later on, selling became a more structured function within the company, wherein companies started realizing that it should be handled in a much more professional manner rather than simply engaging a few salespeople. So selling is not something, and personal selling is not something which is of recent origin. It has been there in the existence since a very long period of time, right from the time that peddlers started selling their products or coming on the bicycles and tricycles as such. If you talk about why companies should make use of personal selling as a part of their marketing mix, basically it is a very effective promotion tool, because we are talking about how companies are able to reach to the consumer on a direct basis, face to face. Secondly, it is also very flexible, because in the process of interaction, you as a salesperson can modify your talk and your pitch of selling depending upon what is the interest of the consumer. So it's a flexible tool, not one which is very rigid like advertising and all, where the ad is already made and you're simply looking at the ad. But in the process of personal selling, you actually modify the entire sales pitch based on who the prospective consumer is. Similarly, the customer attention is also very high. Day in and day out, we see so many advertisements, billboards and posters in and around us, but how many of it do we recall? But the number of people whom we meet as salespeople and the kind of interaction that we have with them, we tend to recall that much effectively rather than seeing a poster or a billboard. So therefore, the customer retention is higher in terms of personal selling rather than other methods of promotional tools which are there. And also, once a consumer is positively engaging in the process of personal selling, that endures a lasting relationship between the company and between the customer, because there is a personal rapport which is built between the company and between the customer as such. And also, role of personal selling is very high when you talk about the introduction stage. As we know, the product life cycle has got 4 stages to it: introduction, growth, maturity and decline. So if the company employs personal selling techniques in the stage of introduction, that serves as a very helpful technique to grow and survive and grow in the market. Likewise, even for the customers also, personal selling is very important because it helps them in identifying their needs, it helps them in having access to the market information, and all these salespeople who come and sell, they also give you expert and technical advice. So therefore, any kind of a confusion that the consumer may have might be clarified during the entire talk that you may be having with the salespeople. Similarly, even for the society, it brings in lot of advantages wherein it converts latest demands, it provides employment and career opportunities. There is also mobility of salespeople within the sales department, and product standardization can also be made when you talk about personal selling. Personal selling, basically, when a company thinks about adopting personal selling, the company requires actually a strategy decision in terms of how do they organize the entire sales department, how much of a sales force do they need to have, how many people are actually going to the field. So all the decisions which are related to the strategy formulation there. And then they also would need to identify salespeople as strategy planners, because they are actually the people who go to the field and implement the entire process of sales promotion. And here also, salespeople represent the entire company to the customer, because for a customer, the company is represented through the salesperson. So therefore, salespeople are essential for the company because they act as representatives of the company to the prospective consumer. Now, why is it necessary that a company should adopt the process of personal selling? So what are the objectives of doing personal selling? The basic idea of marketing itself depends upon the formula of IDA. IDA, which stands for attention, interest, desire and action. So personal selling also works on this particular model of IDA, where we talk about creating awareness. As a consumer, when you are not aware about the product, in the process of personal selling, awareness is created in buying the product. Secondly, through the talk that you may have with the salesperson, interest is generated. So creation of interest happens, and the salesperson also ends up providing all the information related to the product. So there is provision of information, and there is a stimuli which is created in the consumer to buy the product. So you are encouraging the demand. So your a model of awareness, interest, desire and action comes into picture here when you talk about your objectives of personal selling. So you are actually trying to walk through from creating awareness up to reinforcing the brand when it comes to personal selling. And there are various types of personal selling which comes to within the company depending upon the nature of the company that you have got. Then you have to know how personal selling actually happens. You have certain steps in personal selling. All these steps will actually have to be followed by the salespeople when they actually interact with the consumer. The first step is, there are actually 6 steps which are there. The first one begins with prospecting and qualifying. The second is approaching the customer. Third is presenting and demonstrating the product. Fourth is handling objections. Fifth, closing sales. And lastly, following up the sales in order to have a satisfied consumer. Let us see all these steps one by one. The first step talks about prospecting. Prospecting is the process of identifying potential buyer. So how will the company know that somebody is actually going to buy your product or not? is nothing but prospecting. Here the company may have databases of profile of the customers, and they will start weeding out the customer based on what are the requirements of their target market. So in case if I have a list of, say for example, 10,000 customers, out of that who could potentially buy my product, depending upon certain parameters, maybe age, gender, etc., I will start weeding out. So maybe if I am a company who is selling products related to long hair or hair growth among women, then I am talking about in my entire database of 10,000 people, I am targeting only women. So I will profile my consumers based on gender. So out of that, again, I will choose some other parameter in order to identify whether out of those women, anybody would actually be buying or not. So if I have data related to their past purchases, preferences, socioeconomic conditions, I will start profiling them. So here in this process, what I am doing is I am trying to identify who are my potential buyer. So prospect basically is somebody who may have the probability of buying. A prospective consumer is any individual who may have a reasonable probability of buying your product. He may also have a sufficient need in order to justify your sale, and he also has financial resources so that he can be classified as eligible to buy. So therefore, ability to buy, willingness to buy, and ability to pay, both of this should be there with the consumer. Consumer should be willing to buy the product. At the same time, he should have the ability to pay for that particular product. Only then you call him as a prospective consumer. So here you talk about whether the consumer has desire and whether the consumer has money to buy the product. So in the process of prospecting, which is the first step in personal selling, we talk about identifying the potential buyers. Then how do we identify these potential buyers? There are 3 steps which are involved in this. Step 1 talks about defining the target market. Who is your target market? If I have, say for example, India is a large country with huge population. Out of that, do you think that everybody will buy all the products which are produced by a company? Not necessarily. So therefore, how do we know that who will buy the products produced by a company A or a company B or company C? You talk about defining your target market. Then in that particular target market, you will talk about what do they want, how do they buy, when do they buy, and where do they buy from. So you make a clear-cut explanation and description of all these. What do they buy, when do they buy, where do they buy, and how do they buy, so that you define your target market in the first step of prospecting and lead generation. In the second step, you use communication tools in order to gather data from them. I know that out of a database of consumers which I have, say for example 50,000 people, if I am thinking that out of that 15,000 will buy my product, then how do I reach those 15,000? So I will try to reach them through direct mail or telemarketing. We end up getting a lot of telephone calls or messages or emails, all of them trying to generate a lead from us so that we become a prospective consumer to the company. So therefore, the second step will be using communication tools. And third step, if the prospective buyer responds, then he has qualified the prospecting round and he becomes a lead for you to take to the second step in the process of personal selling. So the first step is prospecting and leading. Here, when you reach the second step, you basically will try to identify how you're actually going to sell. So you will do a pre-sale planning. In pre-sale planning, the company will have to render a knowledge to their salespeople about what is the product that they are selling, which company they are representing, what is the market competition, category or segment of consumers that they are selling, and what are the selling techniques that they are adopting. So here, salespeople actually should have knowledge about the product. How has the product evolved? What are the features, benefits, uniqueness, and the price of the product? At the same time, knowledge about the company. What is the history of the company? What is the value system, achievements of the company? Who is the management? What are the policies of the company? So that when they reach the consumer, they have all this data ready with them, information ready with them to interact with the customer. So therefore, they do a pre-sale planning process before they go to the prospective buyers. And then in that pre-sale plan, they also need to have knowledge about the competitors, because as a consumer, I will be inquisitive to ask the seller whether there is no other brand which is similar to your brand which I can shift or which I can buy. So therefore, here the seller should also have knowledge about the competing brands who are there in the market. Similarly, knowledge about the customer, their attitudes, preferences, behaviors, habits, all that also should be known before I actually go and interact. So all this is your homework or preparation that you do as a salesperson before you actually interact with the customer. So this is your pre-sale planning. Then you come to pre-approach. Before approaching the consumer, how do you do your preliminary homeworks or background works which are there? So here we talk about pre-approach planning, where we understand customer needs, we understand the characteristics of the customer, and prepare a proposal on how the product or a service should be offered to the customer, so that the customer feels that yes, this product or service is actually going to satisfy my need or want. So here you basically talk about why are you reaching the customer, so what are your call objectives, who is your customer, so you develop a profile of the customer. Then you determine why should that customer buy my product, so what are the benefits that I am going to give, and how should I place my presentation, so what should be the flow and what should be the content of my presentation. I need to talk about that to the customer. This is your pre-approach planning. Then now comes presentation, where you are actually dealing with the customer. You are actually interacting with the customer. So here you talk about any method, any one of these 4 methods which are applicable. First one is stimulus response method, which is also called as a very caned approach, where you talk about a memorized sales presentation. At times, you know, we come into interaction with certain salespeople who have memorized the entire sales pitch or the entire presentation, and they simply keep us telling one after the other the information or the points that they have got. If it assumes that if a right stimuli is made, it will get a favorable response from the customer. So this is your stimulus response method, where it is a memorized sales presentation which the salesperson gives to the consumer. Then you have the formula method, where you talk about IDA process, attention, interest, desire and action, where the person who is selling engages with the customer in the entire process of creating awareness, interest, desire and action. Similarly, you have need satisfaction method, where it is a very interactive sales presentation, where it is also creative, challenging, because you have continuous interaction with the customer, and from the questions which the customer asks through the process of presentation, you give further information based upon the questions which are being asked. Then the last method is called as the FAB method, where you talk about pitching the sales or selling based upon F, features, A, advantages and B, benefits. What are the features of the product? Why should the consumer buy the product? What benefits and advantages do they get? So that way you have the presentation methods which come into picture. Basically the base is on attracting, creating interest, building a desire and conviction, and initiating an action to buy from the consumer. Similarly, in presentation methods, you can also have team selling, where you are not the single person who is interacting with the consumer, but you may have a team of salespeople who are dealing with a team of buyers. So buyers will keep on rolling inside the store, and you would have salespeople team who interact with the buyers. So that way also you can have team, that is called as a team selling method. Basically that particular sales team will have an accounts executive, technical support engineer, logistics expert. You can also have an IT or systems executive, finance officer, and at the company's end you can also have buying committees who actually help these salespeople to interact with the customers. So you have, that is called team selling method which is there. You can also have something called as consultative selling method, where you are talking about problem solution. In consultative selling, you need to have as a seller knowledge of the industry, knowledge about your company, and what are the needs of the customer. That knowledge should be there so that you are able to present a consultative selling method. So that is your actual approach when you are approaching and making your presentation to the customer. While you are making presentation, it is quite natural, because we are all humans, and when we interact, it is natural for us that we have a lot of objection, queries, doubts and questions. So that step is called as handling objection. So objections, opposition, any resistance to the presentation will typically happen during the process of presentation, or even while taking the order from the customer. And always salesperson should realize that all these objections should be welcomed. Objections also indicate that the prospective customer is involved with you and he is not indifferent. Objections also will reflect the prospect's viewpoint which he has got related to the product. And objections can sometimes also be hidden. They can be psychological objections, where it may be based on ideas, beliefs, established brands, disliking of making a decision, any anxiety or resistance that you may have, or resistance to spend money, or sometimes consumers are also suspicious about the quality of the product that the salesperson comes with. So all those could be psychological objections. As a salesperson, you should be trained enough in order to understand these psychological or hidden objections which are there. Similarly, your objections can also be logical or practical, where you can have queries related to delivery schedule, management of pricing, refund policy, exchange policy, product availability. All those objections also, queries can be asked by the customer. When the salesperson is getting all these objections, he should handle these objections very carefully in a way that he listens, he understands, and he negotiates. So firstly, the salesperson should listen to the consumer as to what the objection is all about, then understand that particular objection, then try to provide any kind of an answer and negotiate in the process of objection. And when you are asking a question, you also have to listen, rephrase, and reconfirm the objection, and help the customer know that you have understood that particular objection which he or she was trying to raise. Similarly, you will have to turn. A smart seller is one who is able to turn an objection into a benefit and then induce the customer to try that particular product even when he had objection. Sometimes when you have to deny an objection from the customer, there you have to be very tactful. You don't have to show arrogance or sarcasm when you are actually trying to defend or deny that particular objection which is there. Sometimes objections are also handled through testimonials, referrals, and company information that you have got. So therefore, while you are negotiating, you can either have a win-lose, win-win, or a lose-lose situation from the end of the customer which is there. Then once you have negotiated, cleared all the objections, now the customer is ready. So now you would have to close the sale. So when you are closing the sale as a seller, you will have to summarize to the customer what the product was all about, why the customer should buy the product, explain advantages of the product and compare with the other brands and tell the disadvantages, and talk about what is the opportunity benefit of not buying the product, emotionally appeal the product to the customer, and then close. You basically follow a formula called AFTO, where you talk about always ask for the order. When you're closing the sale, just don't close the sale saying that the customer was convinced, but close the sale by taking the order from the customer. So the seller should always ask for the order from the customer. So this is about what is sales from personal selling, where we talk about how companies engage sales force and how the particular sales force interacts. First of all, identifies prospects, generate lead, pre-approach presentations and presentation and handling objection and closing of the sales, so that the customer becomes a satisfied customer for you. That is one method or one ingredient which is there in the promotion mix, personal selling. The second part of the presentation is related to sales promotion, where sales promotion is also one of the methods related to promotion mix which is there, where you are trying to attract the consumers to buy the products of the company. Sales promotion usually comprises of various incentives which are given to the consumer. Incentives can be short-term incentives, where you are trying to quickly generate stimulus in the consumer to purchase the product, and all of these incentives are given to the consumer as a benefit over and above the product that he is buying. So it is usually trying to make use of the various incentives which the company has got for a limited period of time, so that they can induce a trial among the consumer and the consumer start buying the product. It is basically like motivating the consumer and rewarding that particular consumer for the products that they're buying. In most cases, sales promotions are short-term, have got a short-term goal with them rather than long-term brand building which is there. Various activities are involved in sales promotion. Activities in terms of trade shows, specialty advertisement, contest, displays, coupons, programs, free samples, all of them will be a part of sales promotion. Let us see all these in detail one by one. Sales promotion basically enhances, the goal is all about speeding up the process of sales, increasing sales volume, producing better results, and merging it with other tools of promotion like advertising and direct promotion and all. But the company should not expect that sales promotion can overcome poor brand image. If the brand itself has got a poor image in the mind of the consumer, how many ever benefits you provide to the consumer, that may not yield a better results. So therefore, sales promotion as such will not be able to overcome poor brand images which are there, or product deficiencies which are there, or salespeople who are poorly trained, that also will not be able to overcome by the company by using sales promotion. Usually why companies make use of sales promotion is they have to attract the consumer towards the product so that the consumer buys more products. This can be adopted in two ways. One way, you can promote sales from the side of the consumer, where you talk about pull strategy, or second, you can increase the sales from the side of the dealers or retailers, which you call as a push strategy. So as the marketing has got these two strategies, pull and push, you basically apply a consumer sales promotion as a pull strategy, where you are trying to attract consumer to the product, and dealer promotions as a push strategy, where the dealers are pushing the product to the customer. So that way you can have a pull strategy or a push strategy which is there. And this concept of sales promotion has gained a lot of prominence in the recent years, especially because of intense competition. Because earlier what used to happen was there used to be only one or two brands in the market, but today you have n number of brands, and the competition has become so intense that customers are confused about which brands to choose. So therefore, sales promotions basically are nothing but benefits over and above the product that you give, whereby that intense competition can be actually cleared. And declining brand loyalty can also be cleared. Resellers growing power, that's why you need sales promotion, and advertising has become less effective. That is why sales promotion tools are taken into consideration. Sales promotion, you have two types of tools. One is a customer oriented sales promotion, and the second is a dealer oriented sales promotion. In customer oriented sales promotion, we are basically talking about boosting sales from the side of the customer, so that the customer will buy more products on his own. This can be in terms of various ways that you have. First can be a coupon, where coupons are the widely used sales promotion tools for the consumers who are there. You can also give consumers refunds and rebates on products that they purchase, so that you can promote multiple purchases from the side of the customer. The company can also provide bonus packs, samples and premiums, so that a consumer will try it, and if he likes, he will repeat the purchase. You can also have, contests in which the customer is asked to enter into, and you can such as completing a puzzle or solving a question or taking part in a quiz, and through that contest they win certain goods related to the company. Or you can also have choosing winners by chance, which are nothing but sweepstakes. So no product purchase is necessary there. Simply prospective consumers enter into that particular sweepstake, and there's a possibility of the winner being chosen by chance. Sometimes you also have specialty ads, which can also be a part of sales promotions which are there. All these things which you are offering to the consumer, whereby consumer has got an enhanced willingness to buy your product. So in our daily life, we find buy one get one free, or 50% off, or combo products which are there. All these things are a part of sales promotion oriented towards the customer, where the customer end up buying more products from the company's side. Similarly, not the customer who gets attracted, but you are pushing the sales from the trader's side. So trade oriented promotions we call them as, where the marketing intermediaries are taken into consideration there. So here you are trying to basically have your marketing channel members who are there, and all those channel members are actually being induced to sell more. So your retailers, wholesalers, agents, resellers, all of them who are engaged in the process of selling are actually pushing the product towards the consumer through the trade promotion tools. In trade promotion tools to the dealers, distributors, wholesalers, retailers, you can give trade allowances, which are nothing but financial incentives, or you can give, you can ask them to participate in trade shows. Dealer incentives can be given, contests, training programs can be given, advertising allowances. In case they are displaying your products within their store, display allowances can be given. Cooperative advertisements can also be made for the dealers who are there. So that way, in sales promotion, you basically talk about consumer promotion tools and dealer promotion tool. As a customer, why should I buy more of the product? And as a dealer, retailer, distributor, why should I be selling more of that particular product? So in this session, we have spoken about personal selling and sales promotion. To conclude, if you want your sales promotion to be effective, because it is an integral part of marketing mix, basically you will have to design your campaigns and train your sales forces effectively so that your personal selling and the sales promotion has got an effective result on more customer engagement, more customer buying, and increased revenue for the company. Thank you so much.